Welcome to our 2026 Vision Cast. I am Tara McCausland, SA Lifeline Executive Director. We're so pleased to have you here. And tonight we're going to be talking about who we are. For those of you who are unfamiliar with us, my guess is most of you know who we are, but what we're up to in 2026 and some of our successes from the previous year. In fact, I guess we could look at this beautiful slide that was created. And we'll also be introducing our foundation board, advisory board, etc. For those of you who don't know who's powering this work. And of course, we always want to share hope for recovery. And that's a big part of what we do here at SA Lifeline. There's hope for recovery and there's a path forward. Before we introduce you to some of the folks at SA Lifeline Foundation, it's helpful to understand how this organization is structured. So, a little history lesson on SA Lifeline Foundation. It was officially started as a 501c3 in 2009. And in our beginnings, we were just SA Lifeline Foundation or SA Lifeline. We produced resources that provided education and hope for healing. That's where we began. And then a number of years later, we started our own 12-step program. Since then, we've had these two branches underneath this 501c3 umbrella, but the two branches have distinct roles while we work collaboratively. So SA Lifeline is still continuing to focus on education and public outreach. We are the megaphone for this message. And then SAL 12-Step is an anonymous program that focuses on working the 12 steps and providing a safe community for men and women who want to work 12-step from a non-denominational but God-centered, gender-specific perspective. So that's a little bit about us as a foundation, and you'll be hearing from people within layers of the organization. So to start, it's good to see who is serving on the board. And many of you may be unfamiliar with the board members of SA Lifeline Foundation. These are the folks that are again, powering this work from a distance. Stephen and Real Croshaw, they are, of course, the founders of SA Lifeline Foundation. It was because of their own experience related to sexual addiction and betrayal trauma that they started this foundation because they wanted to help people find a path to recovery faster than they did. So we're so grateful to our founders. And Kathy Whitaker wasn't too far behind. She's been with us since really the beginnings of this organization. She helps a lot with finances, and she just keeps us all together and focused. Craig Israelson is also an important part of our board, and you'll hear from him in a moment. Brian Crockett, you'll also get to hear from him. We're grateful for his efforts in helping us with editing and book publishing. Russell Youd, and then myself. Beyond our board of directors, we have an advisory board that we are so grateful for. These are the individuals that we go to on an as-needed basis to give us some professional counsel in how to best serve this unique group of individuals that are suffering from addiction and trauma. So some of you may know Dr. Jill Manning. She's a specialist in treating betrayal trauma. Dr. Donald Hilton, a neuroscientist, has written a great book, He Restoreth My Soul, and helps us understand the effects of pornography on the brain. Dan Gray, who is a LCSW, Ann Tolley, she has a legal background, so if we have legal questions, we ask Ann. And then Jeff Stewart is the newest member of our advisory board. He serves those who are suffering from both addiction and trauma. So a shout out to our advisory board. So grateful for these individuals, their willingness to share their expertise with us on an as-needed basis. And then our executive staff. So I've obviously introduced myself, but I am the executive director of SA Lifeline. And then we have over our sister branch, a men's and women's executive director. So Kahi Wingett is over our women's meetings. And Andrew Schmecker, he just recently stepped down from his post, but we're so grateful for his service as the men's 12-step director, and we'll be filling that post in the coming weeks. Aubrey Dane, she is on the service side, customer service and books, inventory, etc. And Ellie Lewis, she is our wonderful executive assistant. She created these beautiful slides, and so grateful to have this team of people who are working hard to make sure that this work moves forward. This being a state of the foundation report, I felt like it would be a good use of our time to just get a glimpse of the 2025 finances of SA Lifeline Foundation. So I've invited Craig Israelson to just go over some key numbers to help you see where we're at financially. Craig, the floor is yours.
Well, it's good to be with you all, and we admire what everyone is doing collectively. SA Lifeline relies upon donations, and in 2025, there were people generous enough to contribute about just under 57,000. 12-step donations through SAL, about 16,000. So net income, just under 45,000. And anytime you have positive net income in any environment, that is a good thing.
That is a good thing. I would agree with that. And I like to say we're a small ship, but we're a ship hoping to grow, and it does take some funds to keep this ship afloat. So we're so grateful for those who have chosen in years past to give and support this effort financially. Thank you, Craig.
Welcome.
And before we leave the board of directors, I've invited Brian Crockett to share briefly about his experience serving on the board of directors. He's done a lot in the 17 years that we have been in existence. The 4 books that we have published are much thanks to Brian. So Brian, go ahead and unmute yourself, and if you can share for a moment your experience as a board member, that would be great.
Sure. Thanks, Tara. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Appreciate the chance to meet with everybody. And like Craig, I extend great appreciation for everyone's service. Personally, I think I'm a better person having had the chance to work with Stephen and Rill and Tara and others on the foundation. And I figured it since the fall of 2010, so about 15 years. I was thinking the other day about what the Bible said about Jesus, who went about doing good. And I think that may be the essence of what we're all trying to do. We might not be able to heal the sick or cause the blind to see or raise the dead, but, like Jesus did. But it's been my experience that through collective efforts, everyone's collective efforts, pretty modest as they sometimes may seem to be, we have caused good things to happen that otherwise wouldn't have happened. And I think collectively we've helped people in need that otherwise maybe wouldn't have received help. So the story for me of SA Lifeline Foundation maybe is like the story of the tortoise and the hare, where the foundation is the tortoise. It's slow and steady and deliberate and is never going to quit or give up. So if I can speak for the board, we really do, as I mentioned earlier, appreciate everyone's contribution to help those who literally need a lifeline tossed out to them in a time of need or distress. So again, thanks to each of you for going about and doing good. Thanks, Tara.
Thank you, Brian. All right. Well, before we get into some of our highlights from 2025, I think it's time well used to just review this recovery puzzle. Now, most of you are probably familiar with this recovery puzzle, but this really is unique to SA Lifeline. This is our philosophy of healing, and all the goals that you'll see coming after this slide are really related to this puzzle. So just a quick overview. We like to sometimes break this into 2 pieces. We have at the center the heart and mind pieces. We know that at the center of long-term healing and recovery for both those suffering from addiction and trauma is the willing heart. And that's demonstrated by humility, accountability, rigorous honesty, as well as a commitment to the process and to the time that healing requires. And we know that seeking spiritual connection, that's where people will find healing. But there's also the action pieces on the outer ring there, the blue pieces. And at SA Lifeline, we're always working very hard to produce more quality education and events that will help people understand the reality and nature of these issues. And then, of course, we highly recommend qualified therapy with individuals who have specialized training in the realms of addiction and trauma. And we know that qualified therapy works synergistically alongside SAL 12-step work. We see a difference in people who are working 12-step only or going to therapy only. It's the two combined that are very powerful. And then finally, we emphasize bottom lines and boundaries for safety for both those who are suffering from addiction and trauma, and this idea of practicing surrender to the God of your understanding. So we don't have a lot of time to go into depth about this recovery puzzle, but if you're curious about it, this is something new to you, I encourage you to go to salifeline.org under the Who We Are tab, and you can get a brief explanation of this recovery puzzle, this philosophy, and learn more about our approach. Okay, so first we will start with the SA Lifeline 2025 highlights, but it's worth noting that while the SAL book was edited and essentially completed in 2025, it took a while to get it in hand. So we will count this as a tremendous accomplishment in 2025 that we were able to get the SAL book in hand. This is the second edition of this book. The initial edition was printed in 2021. And so we printed 3,000 copies and started selling them in May of this year. So this book is an updated version. It has the updated SAL recovery puzzle, expanded guidance on top lines, bottom lines, and boundaries, which are pieces that can be particularly hard for people working recovery. There's new sections focused on healing, couples and families. And finally, to make the book easier to navigate, we added a glossary and a much needed index. So we're so grateful to have seen this book come to port in 2025 and start selling these books. Also, a highlight of 2025. So initially we had thought that we might want to create a training for therapists, and that was a tentative goal that we had shared in our last Vision Cast. We actually decided to adapt this goal, deciding that we're not really a training organization for therapists, and we simply created a new resource page and download on salifeline.org. And very often people come to us wondering, how do I find a qualified therapist? So this page is a very succinct, just page of information, as well as you can get a free download of 10 questions that an individual can ask a therapist to qualify that individual themselves. So instead of creating a training for therapists, we're trying to better educate individuals about what a qualified therapist looks like and how they can go about finding that therapist. So if you want to check that page out, go to salifeline.org under the Who We Are tab and under qualified therapy. And also, a huge part of our effort on the SA Lifeline side is outreach. And so Pathway to Recovery podcast, it continues on into, we're not quite into our third year, but I invited Jonathan, who is actually my interim co-host, to share a little bit about his experience. He's a volunteer, but he's doing great work on the Pathway to Recovery podcast. I wanted him to share a little bit about his experience and go over some of these stats. Jonathan, are you here with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks for inviting me, Tara. And yeah, the podcast has been a real blessing. I've been excited to participate in it in place of Justin B while he's out doing very important work that's occupied his time. I'm not a professional podcaster by trade, but I've had a lot of fun with this. If you want a not so brief description on the recovery puzzle, we've been going through that the last little bit and had some great episodes with some people who have provided a lot of insight and personal strength and hope. So go give it a listen. But I mean, a lot of people are listening to it. So there's over 90 episodes that are available with tons of great content. You'll have stuff from Justin B, some very recent episodes where I speak, and Tara's always speaking with great people too. 68,000 plus downloads, which is massive. That's a lot of people listening and a lot of downloads. And the scope obviously is massive as well. 93 countries, 3,340 cities globally. This is a program that is touching people all over the world. I am very excited because it is this tidal wave of step 12 work, which is where I get to obviously bring people on and talk to them and work my 12th step and spread that joy that comes from recovery, but hear their stories and let them exercise it as well. And it's this compounding effect. It is a force for good, and I've really enjoyed my opportunity to be a part of it. So thanks, Tara, for inviting me, and I'll continue to help as long as I'm needed.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And truly, I couldn't do the podcast by myself. So I am I am indebted to Jonathan and his willingness to work his 12th step. And if you haven't listened to a Pathway to Recovery podcast episode yet, I encourage you to go to Spotify or Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts, subscribe and listen. There's really some great content there from both individuals who are working their own recovery and clinicians, experts in the field. All right, a few more things from SA Lifeline. So our ambassador program is into its second year, and our ambassador program is a volunteer program where we invite people who are interested to share the hope of recovery in their own community to serve as ambassadors. And this has been one of my favorite things I've been involved with as executive director of SA Lifeline. And I'm going to invite Julian, who is an ambassador out of Washington, to share a little bit about his experience. And Julian, while you jump on, just for your information, we have 10 active ambassadors from, I think, 8 different states. So we're pretty spread out. But Julian, if you're here, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hey, my name is Julian. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful that Tara has allowed me to share my experience on being an ambassador. It's been a real blessing in my life. The whole foundation, SA Lifeline as a whole foundation is, been huge in my life as I've been in recovery. And so for me, it's a way to give back. We started a couple groups up here in the Spokane, Washington area. And one of the questions was, how can we further grow the groups that are up here, and what can we do? And so when I heard about the ambassador program, I thought, oh, that's a cool way to do that. And so I got in touch and found out how to participate in that program. And it's been really cool for me to not break the anonymity on my side as a active 12-step group member, but be able to go out to the community and share just this resource as a representative of SA Lifeline instead. And I've had some really cool experiences with therapists, church leaders, trying to find some other individuals to talk to in the clinical aspect. But I've only been at this for, I think, 6 or 7 months, and I haven't seen crazy success yet, but as I continue to practice this, I know that things will come forth. So it's been really good for me to be able to share just this great resource. And it's helped me to understand more of what SA Lifeline really is. Because when I initially joined in on this, I didn't exactly know the full scope of SA Lifeline, and now I'm grateful to be a part of this and participate. So thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Julian. I'm so glad to have you on board. All right, a quick just look at 2 of our events for the year. We had our women's workshop. We hold this workshop every year, and it was a tremendous group of women. We had 50 participants. We were at capacity. And one of the really fabulous things that we were able to provide this year was 5 full scholarships to women, which included travel and accommodations to the event. And that was partially made possible through some donations from the SAL 12-step men and also through generous donations from others. You saw the numbers that were reported by Craig earlier. So women often feel very isolated and alone, and one of the first steps to healing for them is coming out of that isolation into the light of healing community. So this is one of the things that I love most in my role as executive director, to see these women come together to learn and heal and connect. All right, promise we're almost done on the SA Lifeline side, but we can't forget the SA Lifeline virtual conference. This was our second fully virtual conference that we held in 2025, and we had 8 qualified therapists speak, and we were able to provide 8 CEUs to therapists who participated, which was pretty cool. We had about 20 therapists register for this event. And also, one of our goals from last year was to provide more scholarships. So it was a highlight that we were able to scholarship 20 individuals to attend the conference. And that was a big deal. And there was a lot of gratitude expressed for the opportunity to receive that quality education. Okay, so total scholarships awarded was 33. scholarships on the SA Lifeline side, including digital recovery library, book bundles, workshop, and conference registration. And one of the women's attendees said, I wish to send my deepest appreciation for your gift to me at this time in my life. Because of this scholarship, I was able to meet other women like me, listen to their stories, and feel seen and heard. So before we go to SAL 12-step, I know this feels like a lot, but I guess SA Lifeline had a lot of things to share. So on the SA Lifeline side, our total volunteer hours, when we're including the board members, podcast volunteers, ambassadors, individuals who help with fundraiser planning, the women's workshop, the SA Lifeline conference and website, that totaled nearly 1,100 hours. So thank you to those who are serving on the SA Lifeline side. We couldn't do this work without you. Now, without further ado, we're going to have a report from the Women's SAL 12-Step on the 2025 highlights. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to our Women's Executive Director of SAL 12-Step, Kahi Wingett. Kahi, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Tara. I'm glad to be here tonight. We just have a few highlights from this past year that we wanted to share. In our 12-step side for the women, there were about 6,700 volunteer hours. That includes all of the meetings that we run throughout the week and the various people that help to keep those meetings running. We have a total of 17 meetings currently, some online, some in person. The online meetings tend to grow more often than the in-person meetings, which we love the online meetings too. Last year, we were able to hold our first annual SAL 12-Step conference. So it was specifically for those who attend 12-Step. Keeping the anonymity of our 12-Step members is really vital to the program. And so we were able to have some therapists who also work 12-Step come in and speak, which was a highlight for us, and also break up into mini classes so that we could talk more in depth about different ways to work the steps and try to encourage people to do that for their recovery. We expanded our online curriculum to include a step 0, which is new for the women and I think helpful, just a way for the women who are new to recovery to kind of get a big picture view of what recovery looks like, what working the steps looks like, where they can get all of their materials and some of the resources for hopefully settling down some of the trauma before they start coming into meetings and meeting other women. We updated all of our curriculum to include information from the new SAL book. That's our online 12-step curriculum. We added more interactive tools for our Key 3 training, which we do every 6 months. We get a new group of women who run our 12-step meetings. And so we train them every 6 months, and that's been working well. And we also worked last year to create a new mission or a mission statement for SAL 12-step for the whole organization. And that is on the side. It says, we offer hope to individuals affected by sexual addiction and betrayal trauma to build healthier, connected lives through honest, shared experiences in a safe community. And everything we do, we hope follows along with that mission statement.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kahi. We'll hear again from Kahi in a moment. But we would also like to hear some highlights from the men's side, which might mirror some of what was going on for the women and be a little bit different. But I have actually invited Stephen Croshaw, president of SA Lifeline, to speak for the men this evening. So go ahead, Stephen.
Thank you, Tara. And it's a pleasure to be here. And thank you for everyone in attendance this evening. It's great to be part of this. As everyone, I believe, understands about SA Lifeline and SAL 12-step, is the meetings that we offer in 12-step are gender specific. So we address the trauma side that are attended by women and the addiction side attended by men. Interestingly, the whole operation of SAL 12-step works because volunteers are working their own recovery. And so about 6,000 hours of contributed service within SAL 12-step men in 36 meetings. That would include, as Kahi mentioned, all who are serving each other. And that's the way 12-step works. So within those meetings, there are people that are sponsoring others. There's a Key 3 that essentially is in charge of helping make certain that the meeting runs as it is outlined to run, and that there's a meeting schedule that happens every week on time, exactly as it is identified. So we have a couple of new meetings that were started that are in person this year. St. George and Seattle both added meetings. We added an online Spanish speaking meeting, which is terrific. We have great opportunity to expand that. Successfully held the first SAL 12-step conference in Kahi, addressed that, and we will have another conference this April as well for the second annual SAL 12-step conference. Previous to that, SA Lifeline was operating an in-person conference, and so you can see how that adjustment was made by Tara's presentation as well as Kahi's. So started a newcomers meeting monthly, which is really a great opportunity for people that are new, that haven't had experience with 12-step, to understand more about what they can expect, and also understand that the invitation to be part of 12-step is what it is and how it works. Many people come with great concern about what am I going to find there. So these newcomer meetings really add value to newcomers being able to participate without as much apprehension. And then the average number of men attending meetings weekly is really interesting. We have 420 average attendance weekly, and that would be about 12 persons per meeting per week. And as we grow, we hope we see meetings being between 12, 15, or 20. When they get over 20, it's a little bit too big. And then we encourage meetings to split if they're over 20. One thing I would like to mention about the online presence, we have people from all over the world that attend SAL 12-step online, people that I know personally in New Zealand, know personally in Australia. So we're going south as well as across the Pacific and across the Atlantic into Western Europe, which is really incredible. So we're just grateful for the work of SAL 12-step, which is an anonymous program, and that is such an important part of how SA Lifeline Foundation meets our objectives. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you. Okay, so that ties up our highlights from 2025. Now we're looking ahead into 2026. And again, we'll start with SA Lifeline goals. One thing that I would like to focus on, SA Lifeline would like to focus on, is growth online. There is a lot of untapped potential, I believe, in reaching those who are suffering from these issues. And so we felt that it would be important to make a goal around getting some professional paid support to help us with SEO, search engine optimization for our website. Many people do find us online, but we would like to increase that traffic, and also untapped possibilities in the social media realm. And so we're going to hire someone to do a professional audit to help us reach those who are searching for help on not just online, but on social media. So that's one of our growth goals on SA Lifeline, on the SA Lifeline side. As far as resources, again, we're always trying to develop resources that will help people better understand the reality and nature of these issues. And we had hoped to have this condensed manual ready in 2025, but it will be ready, I think, in the spring in 2026. And so what this is this is an abbreviated, condensed, non-denominational version. It will be in digital format only of our Understanding Pornography and Betrayal Trauma manual that was created a number of years ago. And so this will be a great resource for faith and community leaders or anyone who's looking for a concise look at what sexual addiction and betrayal trauma are and ways forward in healing from these issues. Also, we are looking at, again, expanding into new audiences with additional Spanish resources. And so we will be working toward a digital SAL book in Spanish. So we now have that men's meeting that is Spanish speaking. We felt like it would be well for us to create an additional resource in Spanish, which would be in the form of the SAL book. And we also, we already have many podcasts transcripts in Spanish, but we need to work on getting more. Obviously, we have over 90 episodes, and so we're going to continue to work at that. We have some wonderful volunteers who are helping us in that space. But if you're here and you're a Spanish speaker, and you would like to be a part of this, I invite you to join us, link arms with us here, because we could use your skills in creating these Spanish resources. Finally, in outreach, the ambassador program is doing well, but I would like to see more growth here. And so my hope is that we will have more able men and women like Julian be willing to come on as ambassadors for SA Lifeline. So I would like to see 15 active ambassadors from all over the country or even internationally. And my commitment as SA Lifeline Executive Director is to provide better support, monthly touch points for these individuals. We do meet quarterly, but monthly support for these ambassadors, and generally to utilize our volunteers more effectively. And so I've committed to meet with all volunteers quarterly online to make sure they have the support and direction that they need to do their work. And now, Kahi, I'll turn the time back to you to talk about the women's SAL 12-step goals.
Awesome, thanks. So this year we have the goal to do our 12-step conference again at UVU in April. We're hoping to grow the number of people that come. We are looking into offering it online as well. We're not sure if that's going to work out this year, but we do have a way to record the conference and then put it up online so people are able to hear the messages there afterwards, that if they are unable to attend in person. We are looking to gather a committee of women in recovery to work on a new SAL 12-step book for the women. So that's an exciting new thing that's coming, and I think we're going to be touching on that a little bit later in this meeting. We are going to update the SAL 12-step website. There are a lot of things that we want to change there, make it easier for people to find our resources, and hopefully do some SEO things as well. And then we will be updating our online curriculum. We are looking into better platforms to run the curriculum on so that it runs more smoothly and is more user-friendly. We're definitely working on that. And then also we are looking to refine our budget with input from our service council directors. Our service council directors are volunteers who help with a lot of the decision-making and the day-to-day work that it takes to run our 12-step program. And so we are grateful for their input. It's nice to have a lot of different thoughts and be able to work together to find the most effective way to spend the money that we've been given to run the program.
Thank you, Kahi. And now to the men's SAL 12-step goals. Turn it back to you, Stephen.
Thank you, Tara. Many of the things that SAL 12-step men will be doing is in cooperation with the women's SAL 12-step, but we will be adding documents in Spanish to support the Spanish program. We'll be increasing the numbers of meetings by 4 as our goal, and that would be a little more than 10%, which we would look to be able to accomplish. And then our outreach, we have the capability of reaching beyond our borders, and I mentioned that earlier. And there are people throughout the world that can access online. We will push more towards helping people find us online. The 2026 in-person SAL 12-step conference, again, I think we should mention that all of these efforts to put together a conference are done by volunteers, people who put their efforts into working step 12 to help put the conference on this year. Again, that will be in person. And then the online curriculum, as the women are doing as well, the men are are in the process right now of updating that and revitalizing the online curriculum, which is a really powerful tool in working the 12 steps. It helps sponsors and sponsees to be able to follow a guided path. Build a new SAL 12-step website that's in cooperation with women's SAL 12-step, and assist SA Lifeline with publication projects. Now, a very important publication process or project this year is the writing and publication of an SAL 12-step book, which we have not had in the past. Even though we operate a 12-step program, we have not had our own 12-step literature. This is a major step forward, and the efforts of SAL 12-step men and SAL 12-step women will help make that possible.
Thank you. And if you want to share any more about that, Stephen, a little bit down the road, the why behind that, I do have a slide for that. But if not, that's okay. But I wanted to welcome, just to kind of mix things up, to give heart to this work. I wanted to also invite Deb, who is a SA Lifeline ambassador, to share briefly about how she has benefited as an ambassador, but also from the resources that are offered by this organization. So, Deb, if you're here, go ahead.
Thank you, Tara. I was thinking about what to say tonight, and I remembered that maybe a year or two ago, I was sitting in a 12-step meeting, and we were going through this book, the S&On 12 Steps book, which we've talked about. And I was looking through some of the things, and it's always kind of nice to see your notes that you've written through the years and see the quotes and the things that maybe people in the meeting have shared that you like. But on this particular day, I was looking and noticed that the things that I had underlined and dated from a few years before were underlined very poorly. My line was just wavy. It was not a nice straight line at all. It was everywhere. And I realized, because I had dated some of those notes, that I had underlined this during early recovery and just pretty soon after starting working with SAL and going to meetings. And it was really interesting because I realized how dysregulated I was at that time, how high my emotions were, how my body was literally shaking. And I don't even think that I knew what I was going through or what was happening. But looking back and seeing that visual of where I was inspiring and also sad too, because I remembered how I felt. And it was good for me to remember those early times. And what was so interesting was later on, I was looking at the circle models. And there's the one that talks about the spouse betrayal and trauma, and then the circle model of a distressed marriage. Both of those circle models, if you can look at those, you can see that they're wavy lines all around the outside. Just like this visual representation that I had from in my book of how emotionally distraught I was. And I just think it's so powerful to see these circle models and how they illustrate the chaos and the words inside too, the depression and the obsession and all of these emotions. So for me, coming into these meetings and looking at these circle models, I felt that maybe I wasn't crazy, that there is a name for what I was experiencing. And it was so powerful to be able to have that named for me. And I think that the people that I work with in SAL and the women in my meetings are unlike anybody else that you can find in the world. And I feel so lucky to be able to be around them because I feel like they get it. And they understand on a level that so many don't. And it's so neat and I love it. And I love SAL for the holistic approach that we talk about on recovery mindset in the Blue Book. All those pieces, the therapy, the reaching out to God of your understanding, and sponsorship and surrendering and changing that victim mindset to a place of power and movement instead of being stuck in a victim mode. And I think all of this is so powerful. I didn't know what I was missing before SAL. I did not understand that I could have the kind of relationship with myself, my spouse, my family, and my higher power. And I'm thankful for SAL for bringing that to me and bringing that understanding to me. And I'm excited to work more as an ambassador and try to help others find this peace that I've found.
Thank you so much, Deb. And Deb is a relatively new ambassador, and we're so grateful to have you with us. Thank you for sharing. Okay, to close up shop, we're inviting Stephen and Real Croshaw to, again, give us some closing thoughts, but also to make these official announcements, which have already kind of been, one has already been referenced, but I'll give you the floor, Stephen and Real.
Thank you, Tara. This is really an important announcement. SA Lifeline Foundation, under the direction of the board and directors, has determined to add a third dimension to the foundation now, adding to the educational component and the 12-step component, a program or an approach, an initiative called Let God Prevail. This is an approach of helping youth and young single adults that frankly have very little opportunity to understand what they're dealing with. It's an approach that we helped establish while we were serving out of the country, our church. We helped establish the Let God Prevail initiative as we served in New Zealand. It's a program that involves understanding an educational perspective, a God-centered perspective with accountability, daily accountability. We teach concepts of recovery, including surrender, which is the essence of living in recovery, surrendering to the God of our understanding. We teach top lines, bottom lines, and boundaries. We teach the concepts of helping people understand that they're dealing with a compulsion that without help, they are not going to succeed in recovery. So we are doing this effort in cooperation with a company called Typhoon, who have developed an app. It's an educational and accountability app, and we're in the process right now of designing the content for this initiative, and we will launch very soon in a number of different areas. So that cooperation with will help us with daily accountability and also with teaching. It's a concept or approach that we will build as a foundation, but not run. That's a whole new concept. We will not run it. We will make the program, the initiative, the approach available to those that would like to participate, show them how to do it, and then they will proceed and use what we provide. We'll teach those that will be mentoring the youth and the YSA to understand how it works and how they can be effective. And so it's another concept that is frankly anonymous to a degree. And we're really excited about being able to support the demographic of youth that would be ages 16 through about 18, and then young single adults 18 to 22. That's the focus of the program. So the SAL 12-step literature, I mentioned that briefly. For the betrayed, that would be with trauma and also sexual addiction. We're doing something that is unique. So we need to identify SAL 12-step needs to have its own identity. Up to this point, all the 12-step materials that we have used we have not published them, with the exception of the SAL Recovering Individuals, Healing Families, which is really a general recovery book, not a 12-step book. So we will develop this book in cooperation with those who are working SAL 12-step, specifically the directors, the service council directors that were mentioned earlier, along with the executive directors, and Real and I will be the tip of the spear on that. So the addiction and trauma issue, SA Lifeline from the beginning has a determined effort to treat both addiction and trauma equally. We're the only foundation that I am aware of that treats both addiction and trauma equally and recognizes how they are intertwined, and that recovery really in a relationship requires both individuals working recovery. Recovery of a marriage requires both individuals. So this book will be designed in one book to work the 12 steps from both addiction and trauma side by side. So it complements but does not replace the current literature that we're using. We'll continue to use the books from Alcoholics Anonymous and the white book from Sexaholics Anonymous. We will not fully replace those. However, there will be a focus on the SAL 12-step book for the primary study guide of the 12 steps. So that would be then reflecting the 12 tenets and the mission of SA Lifeline. That's what we'll be focused on within the 12-step book, working the steps as originally outlined by Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you. Well, and I'll let you report on this last slide here too.
So the project of producing this book, the majority of it will be done by volunteers, but there will be about $10,000 invested to be able to bring it to life in cash. The amount of hours that will be put into it are really almost incalculable, truly. The website for SAL 12-step has been talked about, will be upgraded, and also the curriculum will be upgraded. Most of the curriculum updates are done by volunteers, not professionals. The website, we get a lot of help from professionals, as you might understand. Let God prevail. You see the dollar signs there. We honestly have not put a number to that. Right now, it's being financed by funds within the foundation. I think one thing that's really important to note about Let God Prevail is it is provided at no charge to those who will use it. Both Typhoon and SA Lifeline are going to be providing this. We will build it. We'll teach people how to use it. We will fund it. And so that will be part of our effort to raise money to make sure that this comes about. It will require a new website, which is under construction, but it can be visited. And if you'd like to make a note, you can go there. It's still being built, but it's called letgodprevailnow.org. Love to have you go and just visit and see what's happening with that. It's a tremendous opportunity for us to reach a brand new demographic that is so in need of help.
Thank you. And Ril, if you want to share a thought, a minute about how we've evolved.
As I've thought about this, I thought it's been 20 years. Well, we'd been married for 32 when really everything hit the fan 20 years ago. And so the little bit of effort that we had made for recovery with therapists, 4 meetings for 12-step, a little bit became 20 years ago very much a focus. That recovery was possible, but we did not know. We did not know what it looked like. We did not know what it was going to take. So 20 years ago, we started into what we call recovery in earnest, with all the pieces of the recovery puzzle. And that was really helpful. So 4 years later, so that was 2005. And so in 2009, we were just starting to think, you know, there's enough recovery, it feels like, that maybe others need some help. And because it had been 32 years for us. And so in our effort to consider, could we help someone else? We determined to start SA Lifeline Foundation with one idea, one motivation: give somebody else some hope for recovery. And it had only been 4 years for us. But we did start with the great help of some individuals who believed in us and said, you're going to do this, right? So in 2009, we started with one publication that was basically brought to us to give hope. We started speaking across the nation, basically giving our story. And from then on, everything has just really grown. But as what has been mentioned is that we have been gone for nearly 2 years. When we went to New Zealand, we handed over the responsibility to a wonderful group of people who we hoped would just hold it together, and instead they made it flourish. And so our great thanks is to Tara and Kahi and Craig, our board, and Brian, and our board, our advisory board, who have seen a vision that this can go worldwide, and it has, and it is. And it can change, and it is changing hundreds, probably thousands of people's lives. Now, when people say, so and so goes to your meetings, and I have no idea who that lady is. And that's a good thing because it's all anonymous. So, gratefully, when we were gone, it continued and it flourished and grew. And we're grateful to be back and to be fully in the saddle. And there are really wonderful things ahead. Thank you to all of you who are participating in any way in your support. Thank you. We're going to make things happen, and individuals will recover and families will flourish. I've seen it. I know it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen and Rill. Now, before we truly wrap up, just a few housekeeping items. So if you're here, thank you so much for being here with us for this Vision Cast. We have some upcoming events that we hope that you'll mark your calendar for. So if you're a 12-stepper, we hope that you'll join us at our SAL 12-step conference in April. That's in Orem. And then we have our SAA Lifeline Women's Workshop in September this year, 18th and 19th. And then you are all very welcome to join us for our SA Lifeline virtual conference, which again is online, so you can watch from the comfort of your own home. That is November 13th and 14th, and Giving Tuesday. This will be also an online event, but I hope you'll stick with us through 2026 and join us for some of these additional events. And if something has resonated with you tonight, you're interested in volunteering as an ambassador or getting involved with trying to contribute to the Spanish resource development, or you would like to give some financial resources, I hope that you will link arms with us. You can donate at this code here, and there are a variety of ways that you can donate. Or if you would like to volunteer, go to salifeline.org. There you'll find the ambassador registration page, or just reach out to me at Tara at SA Lifeline, and we'll put you to work helping heal individuals and families. And we hope that you are already a part of our newsletter, but if you are not yet, this is a way to stay in the know about what's going on. So you can sign up here or go to salifeline.org. The newsletter tab is at the top, and you'll get monthly newsletters with all the latest and greatest about what SA Lifeline and SAL 12-Step are doing. To end, so grateful for the work that this organization is doing. As many of you know, Stephen and Rill are my parents. I am a recipient of the work that they have done for the last 20 years. I like to say I had a front row seat to the mess, to the heartbreak, and it was hard. It was hard for many years for our family. And on the flip side, I have seen the hope and the healing and the thriving that happens when people embrace recovery. And so know that if this is a part of your story, there is hope. You simply need to work it, as they say in 12-step. Or if you are more on a periphery and you want to support this effort, your effort matters. And so I just wanted to leave you with this quote from Mother Teresa, who said, "I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples." So thank you all for being here tonight, and hopefully you'll cast a stone and help make some ripples in 2026. And thanks again for being here. We hope to see you again at an event in 2026. Good night and take care, everyone.